The old ones like to dance.
Well, they didn't have two left feet, like I do.
I could teach you.
Don't tempt me.
By the forge, find an inn, and leave me alone.
Looks like you got what you wanted.
Yeah. It's almost time to go after Hephaestus.
Finally. We get to rock and roll. Yeah, at least that's how the old ones said it, I think.
Bet you're used to that focus by now.
Well, I can hit machines in their weak points. I guess that's something. I wish all the other data was as easy to deal with. Now, to be honest, it's hard to understand half of what's on there. And then the other half reminds me, this isn't a fight you can win by just waving a hammer. Which is kind of what I do. But hey, that just means I gotta study harder. Now, make myself useful.
Just give it time. Anything happen I should know about?
Zoe asked us to help her bring more plants in here. Not for eating, apparently. Yeah, if you ask me, the place is fine as it is. Metal might be plain, but it's sturdy. Nothing wrong with that. Who needs a bunch of vegetation?
Bet you're used to that.
Well, I can hit, which is, but hey.
Just give it. Hey.
Zoe, not for eating. Yeah, if you ask me, place, metal might be plain, but it's.
Anything?
Not for eating, apparently. Yeah, if you ask me, place is fine as it is. Metal might be plain.
Anything?
Not. Have you metal?
I should get going.
Say hi to Gaia for me.
Aloy, is that what I think it is?
Just need to merge it with Gaia, and she'll have enough power to handle Hephaestus.
Good news. So, what can I do for you?
I hope Zoe's not upset I'm distracting you from your training.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that.
What do you mean? What happened?
Before Zoe found a way to fix the land gods, I suggested that when Gaia was fully restored, she could just make new ones.
Well, once we get Hephaestus, that's definitely a possibility.
That's what I said, but I guess there was something about my tone she didn't like. She got pretty raw, said I didn't understand the way her tribe feels about those machines. Which is true, of course, and the last thing I'd ever want to do is dismiss their traditions. But I was trying to look at things differently. More like you know? To see a machine as just a machine.
Yeah, I guess I led you into trouble there, didn't I?
Not your fault. Don't worry.
Did you talk to Zoe after your fight?
I suffered through a few hours of glaring silence. Then she seemed to move on. Sort of. How do people do this? How do I know if the next thing I say won't blow up in my face? What if an apology is not enough next time?
You give her a stuffed animal?
You're the worst. You know that?
What makes you think I know anything about any of this? You're on your own.
Abandoning me again, huh? Well, if she kills me next time, it's on you.
Did you talk to...
I suffered... How do people do this? How do I...
You give her a stuffed animal?
You're the worst. You know that?
What makes you think I know anything about any of this? You're on your own.
Abandoning me again, huh? Well, if she kills me next time, it's on you.
I see everyone's settled.
Zoe's plan says a home should... I asked Aaron to help find some. I think he'd rather stick his head into it.
Still, it's not a bad idea. Better get this to Gaia.
You did it, Aloy.
Let's hold off on the ale till it's over and done with.
I'll let Aaron know.
Aloy, you've returned. And you come bearing gifts. Does this mean we'll soon be able to uproot the Zeniths from our lands?
That's what I'm hoping.
Good.
It looked like you were working on something over there.
With Gaia now growing in strength, I've been trying to find a way to heal the land gods, even if some people think I should give up on them.
Already said I was sorry.
Your friend thought it'd be a good idea to replace the land gods with new machines when Gaia recovers.
It wasn't.
The land gods have taken care of our people for generations. They are not some broken toy to be thrown away. Even if they are just machines doing their job, to abandon them in their time of suffering seems cruel.
I'm sure Varl understands that too.
He does now. I had to get pretty mad at him at first, though.
You know I can hear you guys, right?
It looked like you were working on something over there.
With Gaia now growing in strength, even if some people think I should give up on them.
Already said I was sorry.
Your friend thought it'd be a good idea to replace the land gods with new machines when Gaia recovers.
It wasn't.
The land gods have taken care of our people for generations. They are not some broken toy to be thrown away. Even if they are just machines doing their job, to abandon them in their time of suffering seems cruel.
I'm sure Varl understands that too.
He does now. I had to get pretty mad at him at first, though.
You know I can hear you guys, right?
It looked
Even if
Already
you're with new...
It wasn't.
The land gods have taken care of... They are not some... Even if they are to abandon them in their...
I'm sure Varl understands that too.
He does now. I had to get pretty mad at him at first, though.
You know I can hear you guys, right?
You ever play that board game Aaron set up?
Strike? I'm the one who gave it to him. I was hoping it'd distract him enough to spare us that ruckus he calls death metal. No such luck.
You ever play that
Strike? I'm the one who gave it to him. I was hoping it'd distract him enough to spare us that no such luck.
I should get going.
If you need me, you know where to find me.
Need to talk about something else?
Yes, actually. Looks like things between you and Zoe are better now.
I suffered through a few hours of glaring silence. Then she seemed to move on. Sort of. How do people do this? How do I know if the next thing
You give her a stuffed animal?
You're the worst.
What makes you think I know
Abandoning me again.
I have to get...
Don't...
The old ones used holograms for everything.
It let them experience a great many things.
Holograms are illusions, though. I wonder if at some point they just couldn't tell what was real anymore.
Maybe. They were intelligent, but that doesn't mean they were wise.
You busy?
One must never be idle when at war. But there is always time to speak to one's commander.
Oh, that's not really how I see myself.
It is how we see you.
Anything interesting happen while I was away?
I found an acceptable place to practice with my blade.
Oh, and where's that?
Outside, above the base. There's a nest of sunwings that are always up for a fight.
Ever thought of sparring with something that's not trying to kill you?
That would defeat the purpose of the training.
Anything interesting?
I found an acceptable...
Oh,
Outside, above the base. There's a nest of sunwings that are always up for a fight.
Ever thought of sparring with something that's not trying to kill you?
That would defeat.
What have you been up to?
Varl has asked to learn the differences between my people's clans, so I've been teaching him Tenakth history. It is heavy with blood and death, but also with honorable deeds and vanquished tyrants. Maybe you'd like to hear about it as well, when our mission is done.
I'd be honored. What have you been...
Varl has asked, so I've been teaching him Tenakth history. It is heavy with blood, but also with honorable deeds and vanquished tyrants.
I'd be honored. I'll let you...
And
Is it me, or did the old ones look funny? Funny how?
Yeah, they're close. They're weird. They're so tight.
I'd have to agree. Everybody brings their threads in a fight.
Guess they didn't move around as much.
Hello. Hey, me again. Was there something else? So, have you been going through more of the recordings for my focus? What about studying Hephaestus? Have you been doing that? A little. It's quite different from the subordinate function that escaped Gaia Prime 20 years ago. How so? It's mutating. Changing its own code. At this rate, we'll never capture it. We'll find a way. If you say so. So, aside from Varl and Gaia, who else have you been talking to? Zoe told me how you met after your escape from the Hades Proving Lab. I had no idea you were severely injured. If the Zeniths had killed you, life on Earth would be doomed. My escape would have been for nothing. But they didn't kill me. And thanks to Varl and Zoe, I was able to recover. You said you and Varl talk sometimes. What about? He told me about your tribe, the Nora, and the proving ritual you did. I told him if I was born into the tribe, I'd never be able to do the proving. It does require a lot of physical training, but there are plenty of other roles besides being a hunter. I don't think I'd be suited for any of them. Well, I guess it's a good thing you're not a Nora, then. So, a little? How so? It's mute. Well, if you... So, what about studying? A little. How so? It's mutate. We'll find a... If you say... So, have you been going through more of the recordings for my focus? What about studying? A little. How it's mutating. We'll find a way. If you say so. Okay.
So the old ones painted their faces with so-called makeup, like the Karcha. Why? Yeah, it beats me.
It probably meant something to them. As it does to my people, and the Tenakth.
I just think my face says it all as is, that's all.
That it does.
It is good to see you again, Aloy. I see you have recovered Demeter. With the acquisition of Ether, Poseidon, and Demeter, my heuristic processing density has expanded greatly. I should now be able to absorb Hephaestus, and fortunately, we have made progress on a plan to capture it. With Varl's encouragement, Beta analyzed all available information on Hephaestus. Its expansion has been rampant. It is too large to be beamcast, and the kernel you have been using could never hold it. Therefore, it must be contained in a location with a direct physical connection to me. A place with 2 data cores.
2 cores? Where would we find a place like that? Gemini.
An abandoned cauldron in the desert west of here. Seismic activity disrupted the original construction. 2 data cores were built as a result.
I know that place. It's near the Desert Clan's capital. We'll have to bring you there by hand.
I have devised a blueprint for a suitable, albeit unwieldy, transport rig. It will require 2 people to carry it to Gemini.
I can help.
Once I am installed on the first core, I will call down Hephaestus on the other, trapping it. I will then initiate the merge. However, in order to construct the rig, I will need considerable help.
Can you build it? I suppose I could, but it's not gonna work. The Zeniths will find you. Minerva won't be able to conceal your location.
That is correct. Absorbing Hephaestus will create a significant power surge, easily detected by anyone capable of noticing.
But what if there were multiple power surges? To fake out the Zeniths? If Erend, Zoe, and Katalo spread out to the other cauldrons and create their own surges, would those conceal the one at Gemini?
Analyzing. Such a tactic might be effective. With Beta's help, we should be able to build a set of handheld pulse generators.
I told you it's not gonna work! I did a test. Hephaestus has written Alpha clearance out of its access module. You'll never be able to capture it. Then we need a higher level of clearance. There is no higher... Ted Pharaoh's Omega clearance. The one he used to purge the Apollo database and kill the Alphas. But to get it, you would have to find Thebes. The private bunker he retreated to when the world ended, and nobody knows where that is, not even the Zeniths. Their only intel was that it was somewhere in San Francisco. That might be all I need. Alva, the Quen diviner I met, said her people had set up a base at Landfall. They were searching for data in San Francisco from there. She might be able to help. So I guess I'm headed all the way west. While I'm gone, will you be able to build the rig and the pulse generators? I'll try.
I'll make sure she has what she needs.
Alva said the Quen have a ferry on the coast that they use to get to the ruins of San Francisco. That's where I need to go.
Aloy, I have managed to unlock an additional room near the servers.
Understood. Hi, Gaia.
Hello, Aloy.
Beta's convinced we won't be able to capture Hephaestus. With that attitude, do you really think she'll be able to build the rig and pulse generators?
It may take some coaxing, but with some assistance, I am confident she will.
I don't get her, Gaia. She's so quick to assume we'll fail. She's nothing like what I thought she'd be. I guess it'll be best if she stays here when we go to Gemini. Beta's convinced we won't be able to With that attitude, do you really think she'll be able to build the rig and pulse generators?
It may take some coaxing, but with some assistance...
She's not like what... I guess it'll be... All this data I've picked up in ancient bunkers and ruins. I guess I never really thought that other people would be looking at it.
Based on my observations, your companions engage quite frequently with this material. Erend has asked on numerous occasions about birthday parties. He appears perplexed by the tradition of serving a sweet confection, as it conflicts with the Oseram tradition of serving sparkling stout ale. He also suggested we host a party for you, as a surprise.
Yeah, no thanks.
That is what I predicted.
Is Kotallo getting along with everyone?
Yes, though he prefers to spend most of the time alone. He appears to be collating data on war machine progression and significant battles during the Pharaoh Plague, to aid in the creation of a war map of Operation Enduring Victory. I believe he aims to study the tactics of Old World warfare.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
It appears to be a private pastime for him. He has repeatedly declined my offers to assist his research.
Is Kotallo...
Yes, though he appears to be collating data on war battles during the... to aid in the creation of a war map of Operation Enduring Victory. I believe he aims to study the...
I'd be interested.
It appears to be a... He has...
Is...
Yes, though he prefers to spend most of the time he battled to... I believe he...
I'd be interested.
It appears he has... Yes, though he prefers to spend most of the time alone. He appears to... I believe...
I'd be interested.
It appears he has...
So now that you have Aether, Demeter, and Poseidon, how's the biosphere looking?
In the local region, conditions have improved. Superstorms have subsided. Water sources have been purified, and soil conditions remediated. These improvements will stave off environmental collapse for a few additional months.
Well, with luck, soon you'll have Hephaestus. Then you'll be able to fix the biosphere for good, right?
Correct. I will be able to design and produce robotic agents to permanently reverse the environmental damage that has accumulated.
So now that you have...
In the local superstorms and soil condition, these improvements will stave off environmental collapse for a few additional months.
Well... So...
In the superstorm and soil these improvements will stave for a few additional months.
Well, with luck, soon you'll have Hephaestus.
Correct. Environmental...
So our plan to capture Hephaestus. Let's go over it again.
As you wish. Thanks to Beta's test, we now know that Hephaestus will not respond to your Alpha clearance. Which is why you will need to procure Ted Pharaoh's Omega clearance.
Right. From his personal bunker, Thebes.
While you are gone, I will assist Beta in building the transport rig and pulse generators. When we get to Gemini, I will need to be installed on one of the facility's cores. The second core is for Hephaestus.
And then you'll...
Not quite. You will need to
How long?
There are calculations
And during that time, the others will create...
Correct. They will each take the energy surge should mask our...
And then we'll have everything we need. So our plan...
As you wish. Which is why you will need to procure Ted Farrow's Omega clearance.
Right. From his personal bunker, Thebes.
While you are gone, I will assist Beta in building the transport rig and pulse generators. When we get to Gemini, I will need to be installed on one of the facility's cores. The second core is for Hephaestus. Using Omega clearance will allow you to trap it.
And then you'll be able to absorb it.
Not quite. You will need to manually remove Hephaestus's malicious code before the merge.
How long will that take?
There are calculations I still must run, but I estimate a few hours.
And during that time, the others will create a distraction for us using the pulse generators, right?
Correct. They will each take position at a cauldron door and fire off their device. The energy surge should mask our activities until the merge is complete.
And then we'll have everything we need to defeat the Zeniths. Sounds like a plan. There's something I've been wondering. How could Ted Farrow create a clearance level higher than Alpha? Elizabeth made sure he wouldn't interfere with the project.
It is plausible he tasked his own engineers with creating a back door to the Zero Dawn system, without Elizabeth's knowledge. My predecessor did not even know of its existence until he activated it to purge the Apollo database. It is, in effect, a blind spot. One that will allow us to subdue Hephaestus. And fortunately, thanks to Beta's information, we know where Omega clearance may be procured.
Right. Somewhere in San Francisco. There's something I've been wondering. How could Ted Farrow create a clearance level higher than Alpha? Elizabeth made sure he wouldn't interfere with the project.
It is plausible he tasked his own engineers with creating a back door to the Zero Dawn system, without Elizabeth's knowledge. My predecessor did not even know of its existence until he activated it to purge the Apollo database. It is, in effect, a blind spot. One that will allow... And fortunately,
Right. Gaia?
Her presence is interwoven with my
Your friend.
Yes. When I reviewed though I am glad she made it home.
She was okay with that. Thanks, Gaia. So, the greatest mind, all working to build... What was it like?
Personnel worked in rotations. At all within a month of the project, Elizabeth encouraged me to spend... She said it was important to experience many personalities and perspectives.
What were they like?
Scared, hopeful, determined. I owe everything...
So Gemini has 2 data cores. I've never seen a cauldron like that. But you mentioned something about seismic activity?
When my predecessor attempted to build the cauldron, construction was disrupted by a series of earthquakes. The data core had already been built, but the rest of the facility sustained damage. So, she began again. A second core was built. However, when more tremblers occurred, she abandoned the site.
Lucky for us. Are the quakes still happening?
No, though they did also create instabilities in other facilities in the region.
So the facility where I recovered Demeter used to be a Farrow agricultural research facility. It's where they created the biomass conversion system, but also Adamantine Wreath. Did Elizabeth know they were working on that?
It is likely she was briefed on other efforts to combat the machine swarm, though her focus was devoted only to Zero Dawn.
That makes sense. they actually got the wreaths to work. If they've been able to deploy it against the Pharaoh Plague in time...
Using the data you recovered on the project, I ran several simulations, and have concluded that it would never have worked. In all scenarios, the Pharaoh war machines would eventually hack and deactivate the wreaths before they could contain the swarm.
So Zero Dawn really was the only solution. There was a lot of data in the greenhouse facility about agriculture. Do you think it'll help the Quen fix their homeland?
I will run a query. Complete. The data contains information about novel crop production methods, which may be beneficial to the tribe in the long term.
But new crops aren't going to save the world, so I guess it's on us.
It is.
There was a lot of data in the greenhouse facility.
I will run a query. Complete.
But new...
It is.
There was a lot of...
I will run a query. Complete. The data contains information about novel crop production.
But new...
It is.
There was...
I will complete.
But new crops aren't going to save the world. I found some data in one of the rooms you unlocked. It mentioned that there are still functional seed banks beneath this facility. Why is it there?
My predecessor was tasked with reconstituting the biosphere with primary and secondary plant species. Had everything gone according to plan, humans would have eventually been able to introduce tertiary species, including new crops.
Can we access them now?
Unfortunately, it will have to wait. I require control over the machines in order to access and distribute the preserved seed stock.
And for that we need Hephaestus. It's something to look into later then. I found some data in one of the rooms you unlocked. It mentioned that there are... Why is it there?
My predecessor with primary had every... Humans would have...
Can we access...
Unfortunately, I require the preserved seed stock.
And for that we need Hephaestus. Why is...
My with had every... Humans would...
Can we access...
Unfortunately, it will have to wait. I require control over the machines in order to access and distribute the preserved seed stock.
And for that we need Hephaestus. Have you been able to make use of Demeter's functions?
Yes. I was able to mitigate most soil conditions and restore a temporary balance. You should notice less rampant plant growth in the area.
Maybe that'll give Plainsong's fields a chance to recover.
Unfortunately, recovery in that area is unlikely without the assistance of the Utaru's land gods. I have discussed this matter with Zoe. I believe we may have a workaround.
Yeah, I'm helping her out with that. Why did Aether take up residence in an ancient war museum?
As with the other subordinate functions, Aether needed to install itself on a processor with adequate storage and power. One in the museum appears to have been sufficient, given that the holographic displays were still active.
So Aether was assured it could stay for as long as it needed to.
Correct. Though it is curious that it chose a place surrounded with the ancient ruins of aircraft.
Maybe it also felt at home there. Why did Aether take a... So Aether...
Correct. Though it is curious that it chose a place surrounded with the ancient ruins of aircraft.
Maybe it... Were you able to make use of Poseidon?
Yes. Many rivers, streams, and lakes associated with the regional watershed have been detoxified. As a result, red algae growth levels have seen a marked decline. According to my data, however, it appears a localized occurrence of red algae continues to persist near the coast.
Maybe I'll look into it when I can. So, Poseidon spent the last 20 years hiding out in Las Vegas. From the data I found, it seems the city had an advanced water reclamation system. Is that why Poseidon went there?
Most likely. In an effort to protect itself, Poseidon sought out a safe harbor where it could access water supply functions. There, buried and encased in a protective dome, it could guard against any threats.
Like 3 Oseram showmen?
I suspect that was not the first time it felt the need to repel trespassers.
So, from the data I found, it seems the city... Is that why Poseidon went...
Most likely. In an effort to protect its... There, buried...
Like 3 Oseram showmen?
I suspect that was not the first time it felt the need...
The missing subordinate functions. What could...
Artemis rewilded the Earth with a variety of animal species. Eleuthia was responsible for gestating, nurturing, and acculturating a new... Apollo was organizing and disseminating. Unfortunately, all archive...
Pharaoh, huh?
Understand. He appeared...
All 3 of them were... Do you still...
Restoring their remaining elements would... Empowering my... Unfortunately, as we now know they are in the possession of Far Zenith. Attaining them in the short term is very likely impossible.
I guess our best shot at recovering them is by taking over the Zenith base. But we'll need Hephaestus and a bunch of combat machines to do that.
Correct.
The missing
Eleuthia nurtured. Apollo was organizing and disseminating vast archive. Unfortunately, all archived Apollo data was purged on the 2nd of February, 2066, by order of Ted Pharaoh.
Pharaoh, huh? I really...
Understandable. He appears to have been pathologically narcissistic.
All 3 of the missing functions were prevented from doing so. Do you still need them?
Restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic processing density. Unfortunately, attaining them...
I guess our bet, but we'll need
Correct.
There's something I'm still trying to figure out. Why was Demeter using flying machines to distribute metal flowers?
In its deranged state, Demeter was defending itself against a robotic swarm that would devour all plant life.
It thought the Pharaoh Plague was still happening?
It feared it would come again. As part of its directive of reseeding Earth's vegetation, it sought to protect plant life at all costs. And considering it had 20 years to proliferate, I expect you will continue to find the fruits of its efforts for some time.
That's a good thing I have the code to dissolve the vines, then. There's something I'm still trying to figure out.
In its deranged state, Demeter was defending itself against a robotic swarm that would devour all plant life.
It thought the Pharaoh Plague was still happening?
It feared it would come again. As part of its directive of reseeding Earth's vegetation, it sought to protect plant life at all costs. And considering it had 20 years to proliferate, I expect you will continue to find the fruits of its efforts for some time.
That's a good thing I have the code to dissolve the vines, then. Why did Aether take up residence?
As with the others, correct.
Maybe. So, once Hephaestus has been recovered, you'll regain the capacity to map...
Yes. And
so you could build an army.
it is in my nature to human life, so yes, I could design, given the nature of the Fars. I must admit, however, no matter how aggressive...
That's good.
Indeed.
Once you'll regain...
Yes. It is human life, so yes, I could design, given the nature... I must admit, however, that I have missed no matter how aggressive the enemy.
That's good.
Indeed.
Beta believes the Zeniths want to use the terraforming system to wipe out life on Earth.
Further supporting our hypothesis.
But why? Given their technology, they could wipe out the tribes of the world by easier means. And if they're the same people who left Earth 1,000 years ago, Wouldn't they want the biosphere to be as it was?
It is likely they adjusted to different planetary conditions in their colony on Sirius. They may be trying to recreate that environment here.
Turning Earth into a new Sirius. Their own personal playground. Beta believes the Zeniths want to use the terraforming system to wipe out life on Earth. Start over.
Further supporting our hypothesis.
But why? Given their tech, and if they're the same people who left Earth,
It is likely they adjusted. They may.
turning. So the Zeniths are the same people who left Earth. Physically immortal. How'd they figure it out?
From what we know of Far Zenith, it is plausible that prominent geneticists and engineers were offered a place aboard the Odyssey in exchange for their expertise. Given enough time, technology, and resources, any challenge can be overcome.
Like how Minerva eventually generated the deactivation codes for the Pharaoh Plague.
Exactly.
The Zeniths. Gerard, Eric, Tilda, Verbena. Beta said they were some of the most powerful people on Earth. I think Elizabeth knew one of them. Tilda. Did she ever mention her to you?
No. Elizabeth often spoke of her work, or told stories of her mother and her childhood. If she knew this Tilda, she did not disclose it with me. What we can conclude from your and Beta's experiences is that the Zeniths are ruthless in pursuit of their goal. To protect life on Earth, they must be stopped.
The Zeniths. Gerard, Eric, Tilda, Verbena. I think Elizabeth knew one of them.
No. If she knew this what we can conclude is that
The extinction signal didn't just wake, it made every
I have wondered. So far as I can tell, Hades was and the partial sentience imparted to other subordinate function.
A signal that precise would require thorough How could the Zeniths...
From the records on it appears Far Zenith had an informant.
Hank Shaw. He was supposed to steal a copy of the system for Far Zenith, but Elizabeth and Travis Tate caught him first.
Yes. It is likely Far Zenith acquired knowledge on the systems designed through him, despite his failure.
So from what Beta told me, I guess we can assume the Zenith's technology is...
Yes. As your encounters, they appear to make extensive... Further, they seem to be equipped with some kind of protective energy field that shields them from harm.
They seemed indestructible, but that weapon the rebels used...
Throughout every defensive technology has a... While we lack the anti-shielding weapon, were I to absorb Hephaestus and utilize it to create... No shielding could withstand such an assault indefinitely.
So there's hope.
Always.
How did you figure out...
The key from Silent's interrogation of Hades. The duration of the signal itself.
That doesn't make sense. Why would the signal keep transmitting after it was...
Because the sender didn't know that had happened until it received...
Which would take another 8 points.
Correct. Only then would the sender stop broadcasting, so the duration, halved, gave me the distance the signal traveled. With that, I simply scanned my app because it was Far Zenith's intended destination. Sirius was...
I guess I should get going.
As you say.